Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
That's true. Goddamn ass.
What are we doing? What are we doing
No.
right now?
And really set us on the stage on some bullshit.
Right now?
But Valerie, King, all they needed to do to get rid of King, and J. Edgar Hoover made a strategical fuck up.
Are you really saying this in 2024? All these people are bisexual.
It's true, Valerie.
All these people are bisexual. All the stuff in the news right now is about bisexuality.
No, Sarge,
TDJ, P. Diddy, all these, everybody, all of Hollywood.
It is true. Listen.
It's true.
Now, listen.
Angela Bassett just kissed Regina King.
Listen.
Yes, sir. I'm trying. I just want to get back on topic.
Hey, family. What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl, Valerie Denise Jones. I thought I would stop by real quick just to share this audio because, oh, man, I want to know what you think. How do you feel when you are very passionate about something and you love the skin that you're in, and people keep trying to change the narrative and insert certain things into the conversation that have absolutely nothing to do with the moment, right? I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but once you listen to this audio, meet me down in the comment section and let's talk about it, because for those of you who know me, you know I got a lot of stuff running through my blood. My grandmother was half white. I'm part Bahamian. I'm black. I love being black. I'm a proud black woman. Every single opportunity I get, I try to celebrate black accomplishments. Doesn't matter the sexuality. Doesn't matter nothing, really. You know, I just love people who are fearless. And there are going to be times in my life when I just want to talk about black people. And such was the case when we had this conversation. And it's just like, I got so frustrated because I'm like, can we just stay on topic? And we couldn't. All right. So I want to apologize in advance. This is not for young adults, so get the babies out of the room. This is not for the faint at heart or those who get offended easily, sensitive people, people who get triggered. You know, this is not for you because nobody in this audio had intentions of hurting anybody. I think they just kind of spewed out their truths. I don't know. You guys let me know. Again, meet me down in the comment section and we'll talk about it, all right? Here we go.
Judge, are you on now?
I'm back on now. I got knocked off.
Oh, okay.
I had asked him, I said I was shocked when I played
look, I want to hear what I just said to Valerie a moment ago.
But let me tell him, though. I told Sarge I was shocked. Nobody commented when I played the audio clip about Jonathan Majors.
I wanted to. That's the point I'm trying to make.
But
I really wanted to.
We're recording. I'm trying to get the answer.
Okay, look, again, here's the thing. Look, I want to explain to you, Valerie. Yeah, I know. I want to explain to you, Valerie. Look, you have no idea of the grief I've gotten over the years because I will not resort to mindless hagiography about Martin Luther King. And by the way, I think he was a great man, one of the greatest men in American political and social life. Okay? Let me make that clear before I get started. But just like the founding fathers who were also great men, we can subject them to all sorts of criticism as the course of their accomplishments and what the implications long-term were, no matter what their intentions might have been at the beginning, because that's appropriate. And when Martin Luther King is like he's some kind of saint, he's off limits. And that's what I don't appreciate. And I think, and in my opinion, again, admitting he was a great man, I think much of his legacy has cast a long shadow on the modern-day civil rights movement, in particular, an over-reliance on government solutions to problems that are essentially cultural and personal, because the civil rights battle has been won, and his legacy holds on with all these big government liberals, leftists, and Democrats. And that's part of the problem with examining Martin Luther King's legacy, because his legacy was a socialist bequeathment. It's in his writings. I've read his writings. I've read Stride Toward Freedom. I've read Where Do We Go From Here. I've read many of the things he's written. became increasingly socialistic as he went on, and he imparted those beliefs to many of the civil rights leaders who are still passing it down today. There's no problem they see in the black community. They don't think the first thing you're supposed to look at is some kind of government solution to fix it. And I think that needs examining, and nobody wants to talk about it. If they do criticize Martin Luther King, they want to talk about his sexual infidelities or his plagiarism, and I'm not really all that interested in that. I'm interested in his belief system and the way he manifested it in form of his leadership after 1964 in particular. I wish we could have talked about it. I really do.
Judge, do you have anything to say before we go?
Sarge, that was great the way you put that. And I would totally agree with you that the long negative from King is that it has monopolized the conversation and the discussion into a very myopic and narrowly focused back and forth over his points when there are many more, and a lot of those points had a lot more to do with any progress that's been made than his happened to.
Hear, hear.
See, he was begging, essentially, asking, appealing to people's better nature, but unsaid in the whole discourse is a lack of attention to H. Rap Brown, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, Angela Davis, Huey P. Newton. You know, you got the SDS, you got the students and what they did, the people in the streets, white and black, said, hell no, this is not going to continue on, and they got real ugly about it. And they cut that off because that was physical, immediate, harsh consequences. Things happen. See, America is not a place that responds to requests for please help me. Responds to you need to help me because it's in your interest to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that was a great way of putting it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, when it comes to admiring a man's courage, his eloquence, the ability to articulate positions, the dignity which we publicly brought to them, I mean, those things were just about indispensable. And in that respect, he may have been the only indispensable civil rights leader at the time he appealed to the things that needed appealing to. Problem is that civil rights movement became stuck in amber. That's what happened. They got stuck in that, and they couldn't see beyond 1964, 1965, when the civil rights part of it was largely won, I say 90%, maybe more. And they would not focus on, I don't know, the Booker T. Washingtonian solutions that now needed to be implemented, rather than the W.E.B. Du Boisian solutions. And that's just not talked about enough, especially now that he's been sanctified with very own holiday. And when I was against that, and that really caught me a lot of flack. And I said to myself, look, and this is why I said it. Look, there's 365 days in a year. There are more than 365 great Americans who could rightly be justified as having their own holiday. There's more than 365. That means nobody ever had to go to work if we gave them all a holiday. So you ought to pick one man or one person and give that one person you agree on, that's the greatest American that has ever lived. And for my money, that has to be George Washington, because it wouldn't be the United States without him. He was the single most indispensable man to the American Revolution. I don't care if he was a slave owner. Without George Washington, this nation we are living in would not exist. He was the single most important person to the Revolution. And corroborated by the adulation of the citizen reform, a near almost unanimous election in the first election we've ever had. He set the stage for the American presidency. So I think he's the only one. Maybe you could argue Abraham Lincoln, but that's kind of iffy because he did some things that were kind of anti-constitutional. A lot of people didn't like either, but that's another story. One person gets their own holiday. It should be George Washington. Now he doesn't even have that anymore. We got Juneteenth and we got Martin Luther King Day.
I thought we were the reason for all of that was to identify with the struggle and to celebrate.
With extortion by the civil rights movement and people just couldn't stand up to them. I mean,
why would we?
Almost I remember.
How did the conversation get from a black man?
Yeah, but I remember this when they were trying to get Martin Luther King's holiday. I remember it.
Wait, you got to explain that one to me, Sarge. How did we go from George Washington, from Dr. Martin Luther King to George Washington? Why would you say we should rob Dr. King of a holiday?
Because I don't think he should have gotten a holiday in the first place.
What? Oh,
I remember. I think there's only one. I think.
I can see.
If you want to have a Civil Rights Day, great. Civil Rights Day would have been far more appropriate than Martin Luther King Day. Because right now, all this information about Martin Luther King is going to come out. And oh, Lord, I don't even want it to come out, but it's going to come out. So already we know what's already. I've read Ralph Abernathy's book. I might not get there with you. Oh, Lord, please. And a lot of others. And we know much of that stuff is substantiated.
But we're all flawed. So I'm asking you, why take away the reason why he's being celebrated? That's what I'm.
Let me add this to the mix. When King was still alive, all in that era, black folk, brown folk, yellow folk, red folk, even radical white folk, nobody could come up with an independent idea. It was always an outside agitator. No group of people would, on their own, develop over the development of a consensus, an idea that something's wrong. It's like this assumption that the American citizenry were a bunch of dumb European peasants, and some nobleman had to come in and galvanize them and inflame them to go forth and do what he directed them to do. That's not what happened. There was a mass upswelling that became a massive consensus amongst black people and their supporters around the country that said, hell no, this has gone far enough. It's got to change. But when you assign the holiday to King and try to make it all his doing, you just fit into that myopic trap where it says ordinary people can't come up with anything. It's got to be some fearless leader. That is contrary to the American way, where America works on consensus.
Mm.
But how do we regurgitate thoughts like versus it being judged? We've had this conversation before. First of all, I asked you guys a question about Coretta Scott King. Somehow or another, we ended up talking about Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yeah, because I think
then we were talking about Dr. King, and then you shifted it to George Washington of all people.
I was just saying. That's
and it's like, no, I'm just talking about
issue.
Like,
yeah,
I'm just saying, Valerie, like, when is it our time to celebrate us?
Valerie, look, I don't think it should be a Christopher Columbus
Why are
Day
white
either.
folks always put in our conversation?
Why do they name a holiday? Because he's not even a United States citizen. The United States didn't even exist.
Oh, so you're saying you're not just isolating Dr.
I'm trying to explain to you.
You're talking about...
You pick one American. If you're going to have a holiday named for somebody, pick one. Who was the greatest, most important American in the history of the United
holidays
States?
Named
it was
after
George
them.
Washington.
What you've done is you've declared George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Martin Luther King as American saints. Instead of the Vatican doing it, you have the American Congress doing it. That's the House and the Senate. And you combine two saints all on the same day. They call it President's Day. And you have a third one, which is, I think, a condescending insult to black people by picking one person who was relatively new to the process. See, King gets involved in the late mid-50s, and he dies in the late mid-60s. So you take Frederick Douglass, you negate him, you negate W.E.B. Du Bois, although I can't stand him, you negate Booker T. Washington, you negate Thurgood Marshall, you negate all of the black folk that were involved with the Pullman car porters, the fraternities, the Masonic things, and everything else.
Randolph.
Philip Randolph, and you pick a Johnny-come-lately who reluctantly got coerced into being involved because he could speak well. That is.
I just have a problem with that versus a George Washington.
Well, look, again,
I agree with what you just said. But
I understand that. I understand, Valerie. But look,
Valerie,
what
George Washington was. Let me try to explain to her what George Washington was. If you get into military science, you got somebody that had leadership potential that was a very, very, very fast learner as a military general when it came to tactics, strategy, and logistics, and ability to inspire his men. Had it not been for George Washington, there would really definitely never have been the United States of America. He was a colonial Napoleon. And at the same time, you have the most powerful military in the whole world, the English Navy, combined with its army, the same army and navy that brought Napoleon to grief. The United States beat them. And George
I appreciate the history lesson, but that's not what I'm talking about.
No,
I'm
but
not
what I am
negating the fact that he should be celebrated.
I'm saying when
we carve a niche to celebrate our people.
Have a holiday?
What the heck?
We can't celebrate it without holidays? Or can we have a day we call Civil Rights Day?
See, Judge, I was with you when you said, I was with you. Wait, sorry, I was with you, Judge, when you said
we going to be one of the most prominent figures in Civil Rights Day. We're definitely going to be celebrating him.
Okay, I'm not saying we should necessarily even celebrate George Washington, but if you celebrate someone, Sarge has a point. It's like, do we celebrate the saints or do we celebrate Jesus if you're into Christianity? Who is responsible for the religion?
I get that.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
agree.
the point. See, in other words, you fight the mightiest military on the planet at the time. There is one of the greatest generals in human history, Napoleon Bonaparte. He's whipping everybody's ass. But you enlist the French government into assisting you slightly before Napoleon comes upon the picture, and you defeat the British Navy, and you defeat the English Army.
I understand.
So
I'm just saying,
that is the point.
But I'm saying, like Valerie, we had this conversation. Wait, Sarge, hold on. We had this conversation, Judge, about Harriet Tubman, remember? And I said, I don't have a conversation regarding why, who, when, what. But I do have a problem with people being discredited. And
now,
then
not
also
discrediting something, but that's not what Sarge is talking about, nor what I'm talking about.
No, it's not.
The discredation.
You said you didn't agree with him having a day at all.
That's
where I got.
That's not discrediting him.
Because you know what it is? It's not discrediting Martin Luther King. It's discrediting all of the black folk, all of the white folk that were involved in it.
And look, Valerie, again, I agree with Judge. I don't think we should necessarily have a single holiday for any person. But like you said, if we were, it would have to be George Washington, in my opinion. Because remember what he gave up.
Not black. We're talking about black people.
Remember what he gave up.
Why would you insert a white man into a black conversation?
Hold on. Listen, his men wanted to make him a king. They would have installed him. They would have installed him as a king. He talked them out of it.
What's happening right now?
Wait a minute. Do you not understand what a profound thing that was for a man who was as ambitious as George Washington was, and he wanted to be a member of the British upper class initially, and he never could. He knew he his men, after the victory at Yorktown, the Treaty of Paris, before the Treaty of Paris, actually. They were going to install him as a monarch. They were mad. They weren't getting paid by Congress. They were all upset. But he went up to them and with great dignity.
I don't disagree with any of this, but I am saying.
Don't do this.
I'm so sorry. Are you and Judge saying we shouldn't have a Black History Month either?
That alone is greatness.
Are we saying we shouldn't have a Black history?
Let me try this.
Okay.
Let me try this. The way it got presented to us, and understand, I was practicing law before they made this a holiday. So for most of my young adult formative years, the way it was rationalized was this: were it not for George Washington, there would be no United States. And were it not for Abraham Lincoln to bring the country together, there would no longer remain a United States. So when you take that, what are you saying King did? Save the soul of the country? Is that what you're trying to imply?
Well, can we not proceed a conversation saying, were it not for Dr. King, we would not.
Well, if it were,
we can insert him into a lot of conversations.
Excuse me. Here's the problem. I can say if Martin Luther King had never been here, there would not be a single difference in the outcome we have now, because there's this case called Brown v. Board of Education, 1954, several years before King got involved, that set the tone for everything we have right now.
There you go.
And that was a product of the engineering of Thurgood Marshall. He thought that strategy out. He engineered it carefully. He had aid and he had financial assistance to do it. But it's his plan. So why do we not honor the person that planned it out, that carried it out, and we only deal with somebody who came in at the very tail end? And really, had he never existed, the result would have been the same.
That's not my argument. I agree with you guys on that part. I mean, whomever. But I'm saying, when it is our turn, please don't replace him with a white man or another.
I'm not saying a white man.
It's like, when is it our time to have a conversation about
Valerie, the white man got replaced by the black man.
What the heck? You are black. How are you having this conversation?
What they got to do with
We're talking about our contributions and how they should be celebrated. What the heck? Judge, you of all people, you have earmarked so much in history. You should be celebrated. Can you imagine if we said, let's not talk about Judge Joe Brown. Let's talk about Judge White Man. That's how much sense this makes right now.
Look. I talk about Thurgood Marshall, a brilliant jurist. I also talk about. Wait a minute. I also talk about, for decades, they want to impeach. Who am I talking about?
Richard Nixon?
Earl Warren.
What?
Earl Warren. Yeah, right. Earl Warren. Yeah.
Now, Earl Warren was the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. He was two-term Republican governor of the state of California. Listen. No, we're not. It's just when you have the parameters, and you need to be aware of it. Earl Warren was going to run against Eisenhower for the Republican nomination for president. To cut that off, at the end of his first term as president, Eisenhower nominated and got Earl Warren, the Republican governor of California, approved as Chief Justice for the U.S. Supreme Court. In that capacity, he's the one that marshaled every single goddamn case for the next 20-some years that wound up advancing the black cause to the point where there were no longer any laws necessary or any court rulings necessary. It was merely a matter of administration to get black folk everything they were trying to get. So we don't honor him. We do not honor Thurgood Marshall, who set up the legal strategy that produced the case law that wound up producing the statutory law that delivered it. We don't talk about them. We talk about one reluctant preacher who was bisexual, fucked everything he could find, had a gay lover, Byard Russell's goddamn ass.
What are we doing right now?
And really set us on the stage on some bullshit.
Right now?
But Valerie,
All they needed to do to get rid of King, and J. Edgar Hoover made a strategical fuck-up.
Are you really saying this in 2024? All these people are bisexual.
It's true, Valerie.
All these people are bisexual. All the stuff in the news right now is about bisexuality.
No, Sarge.
TDJ, P. Diddy, all these, everybody, all of Hollywood.
It is true. Listen.
It's true.
Now, listen.
Angela Bassett just kissed Regina King.
Listen.
Yes, sir. I'm trying. I just want to get back on topic.
Val, you know who Mayor Ruffin was?
Listen. There is a reel-to-reel tape in evidence in the Martin Luther King, James Earl Ray case. I had to get them to find me an old-time reel-to-reel player so I could listen to it. One of the things that's on that composite tape that got introduced...
Should we say allegedly?
No.
No.
This isn't allegedly. On the tape is a recording that the FBI did of Bayard Rustin, Martin Luther King, and there's a third male in there. I don't remember his name. They were having a little lightweight sex party with each other. They were fucking each other. And it's over and over. There is an interjection.
I'm in my parents' room and I shouldn't be in here. I am so uncomfortable right now.
Well, I mean,
why are we disgracing this man like this? This is not the conversation.
It was a tape. Let's examine what he was telling you to do. He was saying, black people, disarm yourselves. Black people, get on your knees. Let these racist white folk whip the shit out of you until some more white folk felt guilty about it. And maybe they would give you what you want, which is unmanly. I think it's detestable. It makes me want to vomit every time I think about it. If J. Edgar Hoover hadn't made the strategical mistake killing King, and he ordered it, King would have been a dead issue in a footnote. Because
what does all this have to do with his bisexuality? See how we're jumping the topic?
God damn it, that is some bullshit. We got a whole bunch of pimp preachers, and he's no significant difference, getting rich off of being supported for doing one thing or another. And he made it well because he got supported to be the mouthpiece of a whole lot of preachers pushing civil rights, which should have been done, but they were also hustling collection plates when they were taking up donations to support the civil rights cause, out of which a whole chunk of change got snatched and put into collecting preachers' back pocket.
What does a person? There are a lot of gay people who did a lot of great things.
Okay,
what
Valerie,
does the sexuality have to do with it?
Wait a minute, I'll tell you what it is, Valerie. Valerie, what did I say at the very beginning?
That's what I want y'all to explain.
Wait a minute, Valerie.
How did we get here?
Wait, Valerie. What did I say at the very beginning of this conversation? What did I say? I said I am tired of being forced into unremitting hagiography about Martin Luther King without examining the negative aspects of his legacy. We do that with the founding fathers. We talk about how they were slave owners, how Thomas Jefferson raped a little young black girl, about how they killed Indians. We talk about the good things they did. We talk about the bad things they did. These days, we talk infinitely more about the bad things about it. Now, when Martin Luther King, everything bad is off limits. You can't do it.
I never said that. I just asked why, when I'm talking about him and trying to celebrate him, why do you want to replace him with a white man?
If you're going to make an honest, objective analysis of any historical figure, you have to include everything about them that was significant and shaped their outlook and actions in life. And we're not doing that with Martin Luther King, and that's what bugs the shit out of me.
Why?
Okay,
but this is here's what I'm saying, Judge. Okay, and Sarge, if you guys are saying these are known facts, Why do we have to keep repeating them? Why is it when it's time to say something nice, you have to bring up the bad again when you say everybody knows
Thomas
it?
Jefferson raped Sally Hemings. Why is that so important to so many people?
Who said that today or yesterday?
Okay,
I don't know. I just know Monday we were talking about two things. One, Monday is MLK Day. Two, I asked y'all to comment on Jonathan Majors comparing Coretta Scott King to Meg Thee Stallion, Megan Good, and then the white chick, right? How did we get here?
Well,
we didn't even address Coretta. I asked you, Judge, what was your opinion regarding Coretta Scott King? You said nothing.
It's a man thing. It's a man.
Are we only to have conversations about men? This is why people say you were misogynist. We don't never talk about women.
I am misogynistic because you know why it is? Because what you want to talk about has absolutely nothing to do with the next kid gets gunned down in the street. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the next baby that gets shot by a stray bullet. It's got nothing to do with the next woman who gets raped by some fool that didn't get raised right. It's got nothing to do with somebody coming home after a hard day's work and all of his or her stuff is gone because it's been burglarized. What we men want to talk
we all
about,
comment on everything.
No, stop.
No.
What we men want to deal with is this. 45 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, this kind of shit would have not been discussed because it was essentially irrelevant. And if anybody was interested in something that was deemed prurient, which is this what it is, they could have gone to the last column, last page of the last section of the newspaper and read the gossip column. Decent people did not get involved in this kind of prurient bullshit. But we do now because there's been 50 years of adverse propaganda to make people like you are showing right now. Even women didn't think this way, except the very few. And then this soap opera bullshit set the stage for people listening to this goddamn sleazy filth in terms of behavior. They got inured to it. They got addicted to it like any kind of harmful drug. It was a mental drug. There was Oprah and all kinds of other stuff. So now this kind of irrelevant shit that has nothing to do with our day-to-day lives becomes of paramount concern. If we want to turn things around so we get back in control of what happens to us, then we have to start making those things important instead of as equal as worrying about some clown actor who might suck a lot of dick, but he comes across because he pumps iron and he plays some macho characters and he broke his girlfriend's baby finger trying to get away from her. I don't give a good goddamn.
Comment. You are on every channel. I'm on every channel. Sarge is on every channel.
I know.
We're obviously products of our environment.
Yeah,
so
but I'm not product of this environment. I'm product of something else. I was in my 20s, graduated from college before they started trying to set this environment up, so it ain't me. Now, I will not badmouth King in public, but I'm talking to you, and I want you to understand the son of a bitch is not any goddamn saint. He fucked us up a whole lot, and he should pay for it by a little few stints in purgatory if there is such a place. And I am still goddamn angry about the emasculation he legitimated. He was with that faggot-ass Bayard Rustin who told him, don't have bodyguards. Don't you carry a gun like King used to.
He did.
And that's fucked us up since then. I do not like it when I'm listening to my dad talk to some of his fellow veterans who were with the Red Ball Express and got caught up at the Battle of Ardennes, that's the Bulge, in December and January 44, 45, and they have silent moments for all of them that didn't make it. They ain't nothing but truck drivers, but they wound up in goddamn slit trenches with M1s, carbines, or Garans.
Sure did.
And goddamn it, and they're talking about hell. We hate this shit. We're not going to let a motherfucker raise his goddamn hand to us to slap us without taking his goddamn hand off. And this goddamn Martin Luther King motherfuckers up here got everyone thinking we're a bunch of sissies that don't mind getting our asses beat so we can beg to them. Hell no. And I still have that goddamn opinion because I know there are some brave black men.
I'm telling you, like I said, that not only that, I'm not quite as condemnatory of King as the judge is. I understand where he's coming from, though. And much of the things that I see Martin Luther King doing, which bothers me, but more than anything else that bothers me, the single thing that bothers me most about Martin Luther King was that he was a socialist. And he said so. I saved the things he wrote in his books about his willingness to accommodate Marxism, his embrace of Hegelian dialectics, his idea that capitalism was one-sided economic coin and Marxism was another kind, and there were ways to reconcile both of them and all this other stuff. You ought to see what he wrote. It was really quite startling, given that he wrote it at a time when communism was absolutely despised by the bulk of the American people, and he knew he had to keep it under wraps. And he was fairly successful at doing it, but every now and then it would break out, like when his guy, Hunter Pitts Odell, Jack Odell, got found to be actually an agent. We now know from the Verona intercepts, he was being handled from Moscow. He was handled from Moscow. And so King had to fire him from the New York office, but he quietly rehired him to work in the Southern SCLC office. I mean, you get things like this all the time, and all of these things people are gonna eventually become aware of all these things about his legacy, and it's going to be problematic. Well, why did we give this guy a holiday? Not that he wasn't a great man. I do believe he was a great man. I do. But I don't think he should have had a holiday. Call it Civil Rights Day. Put Martin Luther King at the preeminent, prominent pride of place in Civil Rights Day. But he shouldn't have had a holiday. Should have called it Civil Rights Day. I'd have been down with that. Any day of the week. But that's not what they did.
So do you think it's on purpose that at every Dr. Martin Luther King street is crime, violence?
But let me say this.
So I feel like we're so off subject. When we started recording, this is not what we were talking about.
We studied Bayard Rustin, and Bayard Rustin was a long-term communist.
Yes, sir.
Long-term communist. Got locked up, went to prison, created a big mess in prison because of his homosexual activity. He got written up because he couldn't keep his hands off anybody. All through the civil rights movement, he tried to seduce boys, children, and everybody else. He's a fucking goddamn pervert. I remember when his ass got caught. I remember when he got his ass caught. Oh, yes, may I help you? What's up? Yes, sir. Come back here.
Judge, are you talking to somebody else?
No, that's Judge.
Wait, hold on. I'm on Blog Radio. What's up?
Okay, we got a call about a welfare concern for a lady named Shannon Ridley. Have you ever heard that name before?
She's mentally ill. She did 62 days in a mental institution. Her mother put her in. And hold on, let me.
Come on, Dad. Are you the only person here?
Hello, Valerie? Yeah, I think he's talking to some authorities. Probably he's looking for a welfare check for some people. But look,
I guess we're done recording then.
Well, Valerie, look, the thing that is, though, is
that was on purpose.
Now,
Can we end this?
I got you upset on this.
I'm not upset. I'm just saying I am a black person, and I appreciate it when we're celebrated. You know, I go the distance to celebrate black excellence and anybody on any level, gay, straight, bi, tall, short, fat, skinny, if they are black, I ain't talking about people of color. I've never been another color except Bahamian and black. And I am saying to you, when we get a moment to put a spotlight on us, yeah, I'm gonna get excited. So before we get off this thing, can you say something about
Valerie, look, it is there. It is there. I mean,
okay, so
I don't think it's going to be repealed. Since it is there, I agree with you. Why not put the emphasis on black excellence? Because certainly Martin Luther King typified and exemplified a type of black excellence, probably unequaled by anyone else, white or black, with regard to his eloquence and his ability to inspire. So I'm with you there, Valerie. We're there.
Okay.
And since we're there, the civil rights movement, let's celebrate his day. But I'm saying I don't think it should have been, and I still think we need to have an honest, complete appraisal of the man's legacy. It's not as simple as Martin Luther King is a saint. That's all.
But you keep saying we, like we decided on this.
That means the entire country.
We had the power to put this.
This is a national holiday. It's not black folks' holiday. Martin Luther King's holiday was passed by the Congress of the United States. And the Congress of the United States had to vote it in
Who signed
the
document, Sarge? Who? Who made it a federal holiday? Who?
Ronald Reagan.
It show what no black
Ronald
person.
Reagan.
So why then are you getting your panties in a bunch?
Wait, do I have to agree with everything Ronald Reagan
No,
did?
I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you. No, I'm just
everything he did.
Sarge, why are you yelling? What I am saying is, here's the question. When a white man made this decision, you know he had a reason to.
Yeah, political.
You didn't have a vote. You weren't in the room. You weren't invited to the party, right? So all I'm saying to you, why then, when you know they chose somebody, they did it for a reason, right? So now that he's been elected, selected, whatever, why can't we protect him? Protect the image or celebrate the fact. I don't know.
You're just ignoring what I said a moment ago.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, do we have to bring up the negative each and every time? That's all I ask. If it's his day, yes, people, you just told me and just said. We all know it's a known fact. They got
do it behind closed doors.
Oh
my God! To come out and say it. Say it to death. Are you kidding? You say something like me and Judge Brown just said publicly. You ought to see the hate shit we get. We get nothing but hate. How can you say that about Martin Luther King? You got no right to say that about Martin Luther King. Hey, I've been through this because I said this in many forums. I think that you're missing the
point, though. The point is you are having a conversation with a black woman when a white man made this a federal holiday. And I'm just saying, you know, they had a specific reason for doing so, a specific reason for chewing this man. Okay, so now that we've established that, now that we agree on that, why then, if this is the holiday, why then can't we just celebrate the man on Dr. Martin Luther King Day?
I'll celebrate everything good about it.
Why do we have to talk about all things
because
bad?
It's never discussed. I keep saying that.
Well, why can't you do it the day after?
Why can't we
why not the
celebrate
day
man?
after?
And
Would you like to do
because we
whole show?
talk about the negative publicly to a large extent. We always
Sarge,
talk
all
about
of us have stuff we could talk about that's bad. All of us have dark secrets.
Is it appropriate to criticize
George
Washington because he was a slave owner? Is it not appropriate to criticize him for being a slave owner? Yes or no?
They made a whole movie about Dr. King's laws.
You didn't answer my question.
There are whole books out there. There are whole people who dedicate their lives to slandering this man and his family. He died because of XYZ.
Let me ask you the question again.
He gave his life for this whole
I know that, Valerie. I know that.
Crazy thing. And you still think we need to take time to highlight the negative?
Is it appropriate to criticize George Washington for being a slave owner?
George Washington on Dr. Martin Luther King Day. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay,
who,
so
I'm sorry.
President say I hear criticism of George Washington.
Oh my God! What?
I mean, don't you understand?
Sorry,
I hear criticism of all of Thomas Jefferson was a racist. George Washington was a racist. John Adams was a racist.
Sorry, I can never
time.
get these hours back. We're going in a circle. I don't understand why you don't understand my point.
I'm responding to your arguments. You're not responding to mine. You're just giving me an emotional argument that we need to celebrate it because I'm a black woman or I'm a black man.
I know I didn't. I didn't say that. I said
what I'm trying to say
it's the day. Let's celebrate it. That's what I said. I asked you a specific question about Coretta Scott King. You didn't answer it. You didn't even address it.
Let me answer that.
Then I asked you.
All right, let me answer that.
Why? Why? For what?
Let me answer that.
Because I want to get off the phone? Okay.
No, you said I didn't answer the question. I want to answer.
Okay, I'm listening.
All right, okay. Can I answer it now?
We're still live, so just go for it.
Okay, good. Jonathan Majors made an analogy. He analogized a woman with a man enhances the man. A good woman with a man enhances the man, as Coretta King, who is a good woman, enhanced Martin Luther King and made him look even better than he was. That's all. It wasn't a statement meant to insult Coretta Scott King. I don't know why people would take it that way. Because what? It
did. It was an insult, and I agree with her family. She was not a prop. She was accomplished before she met the man. She has a whole resume. She is not a prop. For him to even go out of his way to compare or insert her name in the sentence when talking about a white woman, such as we just did, right? We can't even talk. Without, I don't understand why men, when you're trying to talk about black people, insert white into it. I don't get it.
She's known for being his wife. She would not be known probably if it wasn't for him.
I don't think that this. You think
people know Rosalind Carter? People knew Rosalind Carter because of Jimmy Carter.
Saying.
Wait a minute. People know Rosalind Carter because of Jimmy Carter. Who would have known about her otherwise?
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that he recklessly inserts Coretta Scott King's name into sentences and matches them as these people he are referencing are on the same level.
Valerie,
there is no comparison.
What do you expect him to give? A dissertation?
Sorry, I gotta go.
He's an actor.
I gotta go. This has been great. That ain't got he was not acting. He was answering questions about his real life.
He's an actor answering questions.
Oh my God. You cannot be serious.
Do you really expect some sort of profound statement about the historical significance of his relationship, of her relationship with her husband?
I expect him not to disrespect those whose shoulders we rest on.
I didn't think he was disrespecting her. I didn't think it was a disrespect.
As much as I love Megan Good, she ain't no Coretta Scott King. Okay? That's what I'm saying.
God.
He ain't no Martin Luther King. She ain't no Coretta Scott King.
She's known for being her husband. She's known because she was his wife. That's why we know of her.
You are so smart. Why are we having this dumb moment?
What is untrue about what I just said?
The smartest people I know. And I feel like my IQ level is dropping right now. What are you talking about?
Because what was untrue about what I just said?
The hell? Nothing.
King is known to us because he was married to Martin Luther King.
You are right. 1,000%. What does that have to do with Jonathan Major inserting her name into his conversation and comparing her to Dr. Megan Good and a white woman? What does that have to do with it?
Because
nothing.
Maybe he was looking at the white woman as a good woman.
The hell are
you
a good kidding
woman.
me?
You're looking at them as racial representations.
I'm looking at the fact he's misinformed, miseducated, and he needs to wake the hell up.
To it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you just did.
Okay. All right. Well.
I mean, look, Coretta Scott King was a woman of great dignity.
Can we agree to disagree?
Martin Luther King was enhanced by his relationship with her. There is no doubt about that.
I agree. 10,000%. Yeah, I agree.
But still, the only reason we know her is because of him. And she's a good woman.
What?
She's a good woman in any context.
So she was not an activist prior to
Valerie. Valerie, hold on. If you have a relationship with a good woman, whether that woman is white or black, you are enhanced by your relationship with that woman.
All right, guys, that is it for now. That was a lot, right? I know. Gee whiz. I'll see you in the comment section. That's all I've got. Please join Judge Jerome on social media. He's on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Valerie Denise Jones, wherever I am. Just hit a like button, subscribe if you like. I'm going to try and bring you more content, but yeah, man, I'm just trying to figure out my place in this digital world. So I don't know when I'll see you again, but I do love you to life. So, yeah, that's it. Until I drop the next audio. Goodbye.